Welcome back, guys. Today we have Jordan joining the pod. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Jordan is a nurse unit manager at Adora in Brisbane. This is going to be such a great episode for anyone about to start IVF or already right in the thick of it. But before we dive in, Jordan would love to hand it over to you to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you ended up working in the IVF industry.
So I studied a Bachelor of Nursing and a Bachelor of Midwifery at uni. During my time at uni, I definitely always had an interest in women's health, and I imagined that's where I would end up. Just after uni, I went into a midwifery position at a hospital, which I absolutely loved. And while I was working as a midwife, I came across a few other nurses who were also working in the IVF and fertility sector, and it just sounded really interesting what they had done. So I had applied for a position, and I think I started there around 2021, and absolutely loved it when I started. Following that, I moved into Adora at 2023, which is where I'm the nurse unit manager there, and I've just loved every moment since being in fertility. It's a really rewarding job.
Yeah, so good.
My sister's a nurse, and I always say to her, nurses are just angels.
Yes,
like you guys
absolutely.
really are. But I feel like especially in the fertility space, like us patients, we rely on you guys so much, and you do such amazing work.
Yeah, you're the biggest piece, really.
Yeah,
like our constant
that's so
communications with you guys. You're the glue.
No, I love to hear that. Yeah, no, that's what I said. I absolutely love it. It's so rewarding. It's, the best part about this job.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
so
amazing. So we've got quite a few questions for you today, Jordan. So let's start with the first one. What is something patients often don't realise about the role of a nurse in fertility clinics?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize we're often that first point of contact for patients. Like, I think when you think of nurses in fertility, you think of, giving injection or medication instructions and making phone calls. But a lot of patients don't see the behind the scene that we do, that we're, helping coordinate those treatment plans, coordinate those cycles. We're communicating with the doctors in the lab. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that we don't see. But yeah, we're definitely, your biggest support system there. And we always encourage patients that if you need that extra support, to lean on the nurses during your cycle.
Yeah, that's so true. I think when I first started IVF, I didn't realize the role the nurses were going to play in the cycle.
Yeah.
Were you the same?
Yeah, at the first point, definitely not. But as I got further along, I was like, they were my go-to for everything.
Yes.
Ring up, sometimes I'd be like, I've probably messaged them too many times today.
Calling way too many times.
But
it never feels like that. Like when we speak to you guys, it never feels like that.
Never, absolutely.
No,
never.
That's what we're here for. We're always like, contact us. We would rather know that, we've helped you than you're at home kind of stressing about it yourself. So always contact us.
Yeah, and it's so true because you do spiral. There are some, some days where you're just like, oh my God, you're panicking about, injection times or, the dose or how to even mix them or whatever it is. And just to be able to call and have someone to just explain it and ease that is amazing.
I feel like you need a lot of reassurance too because you're on so many hormones. I don't know about you. Yeah. I was like extra hormonal when I was going through IVF and extra paranoid too because I was feeling all these things I've never felt before.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on crucial days where, you're getting your results and either way, even if it's a positive or a failed cycle, just that there's always that warm person on the other end of the phone. And sometimes you're not ready to receive the information, but I've never had anything but kindness from the nurses. So
same.
And I've had to hear both stories. So.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. What's one thing you wish every patient knew before starting their IVF journey?
I think I always try to say to new patients, it's okay if it doesn't all make sense at the start. IVF can be so overwhelming and it feels massive when you first start. So I always say to people, try and just take it bit by bit. And it's okay if there's changes or setbacks in your treatment. That's so normal. So just, being aware that changes can come and it's okay. And that's, as I said, it's what the nurses are here to support. If there are changes, we'll be the ones that will help walk you through, go over the next steps or, what we might be doing this time if it hasn't, worked last time.
Yeah. You know what? That's such a great message because I feel like when you're going through IVF, as a patient, you kind of want to make it to the next step. And when there is a change, and changes happen often. Do you think it happens quite often to patients?
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
not?
I think it does happen. And even sometimes, like, different life circumstances as well. Things might
Yeah.
pop up in patients' lives and timelines and things like that. So it's good to have us there. We can help kind of, if we can accommodate those changes, we will. Or, if it might not be that cycle, we can go back to your doctor and get them to make the plans for the next cycle.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're always pivoting in a cycle, and I think it's a good message for those that are about to start, because Lucy, you're like me. When we started, we thought we would be able to map out our whole cycle. So on this day, I'll go for this, and this day will be egg collection. I can tell my boss this, and I think that the message is really important, that it's not really like that, and to prepare for change is, I wish I knew that. So I think it's a good message.
Yeah. It's so hard because that's what I said, you have to be adaptable, but at the same time, life's still going on. And I know it's so tricky. And that's what I said. It's hard to manage that. And we always try our best to, accommodate, because that's what I said, life's still going on, obviously, while your cycles are going on. But yeah, I think if patients can go and being a little bit adaptable, because that's what I said, things may change, and unfortunately it might be out of your control. Like, as much as you said, I would love to be like, okay, I'm going to have my first scan this day, egg collection's going to be this day. It often doesn't fall that way, and that's okay. But just being prepared that might happen.
Yeah, I love that.
I love the way you put that, because I think us patients can be so hard on ourselves, you know, when things aren't going to plan, we think we're failing again.
Yes.
So I love the way you put that. I think that was perfect.
Definitely.
How closely do IVF nurses work with the doctors?
Yeah, at Adora, we work really closely with our doctors. So obviously your doctor's going to be the one that's reviewing your treatment plan and, advising the nurses of any changes. And then the nurses, we're the ones that will obviously let the patients know when your next blood and scan's going to be, or, if you have to increase your medication, if you've got to add in a new medication, when the transfer's going to be. So we're the ones doing that. We also are the ones that often speak to the patients day to day. And then obviously we're the ones that can pass on any communication to your doctors if something pops up throughout the cycle that you need clarified.
I think it's good to know that you are so close with the doctors. I feel like we see our doctor at the very beginning, we have that consult, we get our treatment plan, and then we go off and we're cycling, we're stimming, and then we don't really speak to them till the end of the cycle. And so I found comfort at Adora when I knew that, like, Charlie was always overseeing everything, and the nurses were amazing, and they'd say, so Charlie's reviewed your results and he's happy with this, so we're going to move to the next stage. And, or Charlie wants to pivot, or Charlie's not too happy with your lining, so we're going to freeze all. But it was always nice that you guys worked so close and tight together, and that gave us gave us comfort.
Yeah, I agree. And then it's just delivered in the best way possible as well. With that empathy and that care, which is so important when you're going through IVF.
Yeah, and I think, we all understand doctors are so busy. So I love that there's the nurses, and it works in reverse. Like, I found comfort in ringing up and asking my questions to you guys. So you build that rapport, and there were a few nurses that I got to learn over time, So I think that's cool. Jordan, what happens for a patient at Adora if they're running late for egg collection or embryo transfer? What should they do?
This is a good question, because I feel like every patient has this anxiety. And I remember feeling so anxious, like I was going to be late for transfer or egg collection. I never was. I was like half an hour early. But you do think about that when you wake up in the
anxiety
morning.
for it, but you're always early anyway, really, because you're over calculating. But it's so true.
No, absolutely. And look, it is obviously really daunting. And we always say to our patients, on days that you've got procedures, try and make those plans that, you might be there a little bit earlier so you can. Obviously, with egg collections being that you would have triggered at the certain time for your egg collection, we obviously want it to be at that time. There is a little bit of leeway, but we obviously normally like it to be correlating to the time that you triggered. Transfers, it's a little bit different. And obviously in our clinic, if a patient gets stuck in traffic or if there's a delay, obviously we would always just say, please let the clinic know, and then we'll see what we can do to obviously accommodate or shuffle that transfer time. But always try and just, be there before that procedure time, so that way you're not kind of stressing, you're nice and relaxed before you go into those procedures.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true too.
You do want to be going in relaxed and ready.
I'd rather sit around and wait and
me too. I'd rather
calm
be there
down
3 hours early, like I'm going to the airport, and just prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take a chill and relax in the waiting room. Then they'd be bolting in the door all flustered.
Yeah. But it must happen. Does it happen? Does it happen often?
I wouldn't say often. I feel like most of the time patients are there, and obviously with egg collections you're always going to have your admission time as well. It might just mean the day surgery nurses might be mad about having to speed through an admission, but that's what I said. Most of the time procedures, that's what I said, I feel like it's not a massive issue we run into at our clinic, but that's what I said, if it does happen, always just notify your clinic so they can advise obviously of the next steps.
Call the nurses, let them know. I think that's
they're there to help. Has anyone ever missed egg collection or transfer day? I'm sure it's happened before in the IVF world.
100%. I think Charlie said that he's had one or two, right?
Yeah. Have you ever experienced it?
I haven't personally experienced. I've had obviously patients, those really late night triggers and, despite setting alarms and things like that, sometimes obviously we've missed a trigger injection and then we couldn't proceed with egg collection. But touch wood, I haven't had any patients in my time that haven't been able to get to their procedure.
I'm touching wood for you.
Yeah.
I remember my trigger shot was 1 a.m. And
yes.
At the end of the IVF cycle, well, for me anyway, I was so exhausted. Like I've never been that tired in my life.
Yeah.
And I remember I fell asleep. I wanted to stay awake up until trigger. I fell asleep and then George came. I set my alarm, but George came and woke me up 5 minutes before it went off. So I was fine. But I can see how that would happen.
Oh, absolutely. I had a midnight one and there's no way I could rely on Luan to wake me up. I'm his alarm clock daily for work. So, and I remember having to do midnight shot and I tried to nap. But even that, I couldn't even sleep. I just had to because I was so scared that I wouldn't wake up. So I just had to deal with going to bed late, which
I know
was fine in the end, but yeah.
And look, I think any time that we give a patient a trigger time and it's after midnight, we're set multiple alarms, get your partner to set alarms.
The whole house going.
Yes. That's a good tip. Yeah. Listen to that tip. That's a good one. Speaking of injections, can you give us your best injection tips? And is it true that you can inject in as well as your tummy, but your bum and your thigh? Is that true?
Yeah. So obviously most IVF injections are a subcutaneous injection, so you can go tummy, bum, or thigh. We normally say go the tummy area as it's easiest to kind of rotate that injection site, so you can kind of go across multiple areas. It's easiest to kind of pinch that fat layer as well to kind of get the injection into. But it blew my mind when I started infertility that it's kind of it's a whole semester learning how to do injections in nursing.
Yes.
And then these patients come in for one education session and it's okay, off you go. And I was oh my goodness, that must be so daunting for them.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I'm it's a whole semester at nursing.
Wow.
But no, that's what I said. I think it's incredible. And I always say to patients, I think that's one of the most daunting things about IVF as well, is doing the injections, especially if people have a fear of needles or things like that. So my best ones, if you're really nervous, sometimes you can ice your tummy just to help numb that area as well before you do the injection. It might not be an injection tip, but I normally tell people choose a time of the day to do your injections, because obviously you have to do them at the same time every day, that you're not going to be rushed. So that way, if you do need a little bit of extra time, you've got the time there to do it.
I love that. I cried on the first day with my nurse, and she was amazing. It took me, I think I was there for 15 minutes. She's you have to do your first one with me so I know that you can do them. And I'm but I had my husband planned and I was I'm not doing them. He is, and he wasn't with me. It was COVID. And I was do I have to really do it now? And she's yes, I'd like for you to do it now. I ended up in tears but I did it. But yeah, it's definitely a thing. It's so nerve-wracking.
I wanted to ask about the ice thing, because I remember in the community when I was cycling, and I don't know if you heard this, Yale, people were saying, don't do the ice thing because what it does is it'll freeze the medication so it won't actually move around. Is that true? Or is that just us coming up with
I did 4 cycles and I iced everything.
That's what I said. And look, some people, I will say, obviously, no injections are obviously nice, but sometimes I think the actual anticipation of doing the injection can be worse than the injection itself. But that's what I said, if that, numbing the area with ice just helps a patient get through it, I think do what you need to do those injections.
Yeah, I love that.
that.
I actually, the part I hated about injections wasn't the needle going in, but pinching the fat. Like I don't like that feeling.
Oh, wow.
Like, you know when they do that test at school when they measure your fat and they have that tool, that just makes me like feel so So yeah, I didn't like the pinch thing, but because my sister's a nurse, she was so sweet. For my second cycle, she actually came over and done my first injection for me. So that
and
was
you got
really
that beautiful
I got
photo
that
of it
video
too.
and photo, yeah.
Video.
That was so sweet.
Yeah,
so.
I love that. No, well, that's what I said. If you've got nurse friends, bring them in. They'll be your personal nurse for the cycle.
And if not, you'll be an expert at the end of the cycle. So
yes,
Gail,
exactly.
like me. And then you'll be recording them and putting them on your Instagram like I did.
I love it. Is there any way not to bruise as well? Or is that just like a genetic thing?
I feel like some people do bruise worse than others, and I think sometimes different medications, I feel like patients will go some cycles, they'll be like, oh, like this one didn't hurt as much as a previous medication I've used, but look, that's why I said the tummy tends to bruise less. It will still bruise, but yeah, just try and rotate the sites as much as possible, and that might help reduce the bruising.
Yeah, I found Clexine was the one that gave me bruises and the rest were fine. And
I never got any bruises. But I know some people do just from even their first injection.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. What are some common myths or misunderstandings you hear from patients?
I think as a nurse in IVF, a lot of the time, I think patients come in and they think that one cycle, they'll end up with a baby after that one cycle. And I think that's sometimes hard. And as an IVF nurse, it's something, it's not anything that patient has done wrong or, you haven't failed. It's just that sometimes it can take multiple cycles. And I find I think people can get quite disheartened if, after that first one, it hasn't worked. And I think a lot of people do come in with that expectation that it is going to be one and done. But for a lot of the time, everyone's IVF and fertility journey is very different. So I always say, try not to compare, with other people and know that it's not anything you've done wrong. It's just that sometimes it does take multiple cycles.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the way you put that. Every single word on that was perfect. Yeah. And I feel like every single patient needs to hear that as well, because I feel like we do all go in with that expectation, but I love the way you put that. I think when, as a patient, because you've been failing, maybe, we don't know what your journey is.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
For us, we've been failing for a long time. And then you go to IVF because you've been failing, so you think it's going to work. And when that first round doesn't work, don't you think it's the hardest one to accept?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But what I'm loving at the moment is I feel like, and Lucy, you probably agree, but in our last few episodes, this is the new narrative, and I'm loving that it's being highlighted, and I love that was your response, because I feel like doctors are now addressing that. Because I feel like when we started, I just assumed that IVF was the solution. It was the fix.
I think society pushes that though. Yeah. That's what society, like before we started IVF, we didn't know much about it. We thought if someone has infertility, they go do one round and it works. Yeah. And most people think that, but
but I'm just loving that it's a message that's going out now. Yeah. So I think it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question. What's something you wish more people knew about the 2-week wait? And why exactly is test day set on that day?
Such a long time.
The 2-month wait, as we call it. It feels like forever.
And it's 11 days. It's not even 2 weeks, right? Like that.
But it's like the days go longer during that time. I don't know what it is, but no.
Yes.
I promise you. I feel like sometimes it's one of the emotionally hardest parts of a cycle is that 2-week wait. And there's so many emotions. I feel like it's a very anxious time. You're like, has it not? But I promise you, we do it for a good cause. So obviously when you go in for a transfer, implantation, can take a few days to happen. And then once implantation has happened, obviously then your body will start producing that HCG, the pregnancy hormone. We get you to wait, depending on clinic protocols, which is anywhere between that 10 to 14 days post-transfer, so that we can get that most accurate level for you when you go in to do that blood test.
Okay. And that's why it varies. So like I think my first clinic was 10 days and then and then Adora was 11 days. And does it vary person to person?
Not so much person to person. I think definitely
Okay.
clinic. That's what I said. Other clinics that
Yeah.
I've worked in, it was the 14 days, where, as you said, Adora is
Wow.
the 11 days post transfer. I
Okay.
guess, different circumstances, a doctor might bring forward a test if they needed to. But yeah, normally you'll find clinics will have their protocols that they do.
Yeah.
I didn't know 14 days. That's cool. That makes more sense. We were debating why it was 2 weeks when it's not 2 weeks.
Yes, we
but
talked
now
about that
you've
recently.
clarified that. So that's cool.
Yeah, and I know the nurses always told me, don't test at home, just don't do it. What's the reason we actually can't test at home?
I think, again, it's just obviously to try not to cause kind of unnecessary stress. If it's a false positive, false negative, if you've done a cycle where you've used a HCG trigger as well. Sometimes if you test too close to having that trigger, it might be picking up the trigger rather than the pregnancy. I mean, I know it's hard, and that's what I think a lot of our patients probably still do it at home, but that's why we try and wait as close as possible to that time of your blood test if you want
Guilty
to.
over here, us too.
Yeah, I got guilty when
And by the way, I reckon it's
my last one.
99% of patients that do it. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well,
I reckon it is, yeah.
Transfers, I
We're
didn't
lying
do
to
it.
you. We just lied to you.
Yeah. For
No,
6
I love
transfers,
when I
didn't do
give,
it, but
yeah, we'll call someone with a positive test and, we'll congratulate them and we'll be like, did you know? They're like, maybe. And we're like, okay, if it doesn't.
You can probably always tell.
Yeah, you
hey?
can tell,
know if
right?
it's a real reaction or rehearse for sure.
Yeah.
and that must be the best phone call for you guys too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
So speaking of the phone calls, as patients receive updates through the cycles, it can be, as you said earlier, a bit of an emotional roller coaster with different updates. But we also imagine it must be tough for you guys. How do you handle that?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of emotions, and that's what I said. You'll have obviously days where you have both those really, exciting good calls that you get to make, but then obviously those really heartbreaking calls that you have to make as well. I think I try to obviously, regardless of the outcome of the call, making sure that, we're giving the patient all the support they need and the guidance and the next steps that they need. I think it also helps. I mean, like both clinics I've worked at, I had a really great team of nurses and, leaning on colleagues if you need to debrief or go over those calls just to make sure that you're not taking it all on yourself.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, it must be a lot for you guys emotionally too.
Yeah, definitely. And do you guys have like a process that you go through when you make those calls where you say, I'm going to do all the positive ones and then the negative ones, or is it not really like that?
Or is it in a certain order?
I've been thinking it, but I feel like us patients like to know all those kind of little details.
Lucy's all about the behind the scenes.
Yes.
I love that. No, the way we work at our clinic in Brisbane is we'll have kind of a nurse sort of on different tasks. And one of those tasks is what we call results. So that's looking at kind of any kind of in-cycle blood test results. So that might be if the doctor's given you next steps about one of your monitoring bloods and scans, or if a pregnancy test has come back. So we won't have one nurse that'll do kind of all the positive calls and then all the negative calls. They'll do a mix of both kind of on that day.
Okay.
But you'll often find like you'll hear someone do a pregnancy call and you kind of see everyone in the clinic kind of stopping like, oh, who's that? Like, wonder who that is. So we get so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Cool. That is cool.
I feel like the nurses are really good about their tone when they call, don't you think? Like us patients, we're waiting for that call, and when we pick it up, I feel like we can kind of know from the first hello if it's going to be, good or negative. So,
but you all handle it so well, no matter what. Because I got all the calls like that too. I got a lot of negatives. I got, and then finally the positive. But you guys handle it amazingly. And God, I don't know how I would handle it. Like I feel like that would be so hard.
Yeah. I agree.
It's tough, but it's so rewarding, and that's what I said. Like you'll have those days where you have to make the really tough calls, but I think it's nice knowing that you are a support system for the patient, and then you'll also have those calls where it's like it's a patient that has been through multiple cycles, and it's their positive test, and you're the one that gets to give them that call, and it's just so nice doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's nice that nurses are involved in that way as well. I love that.
I think that is special.
What advice would you give to a patient who is extremely nervous or scared about starting IVF? This was definitely me. Was that you as well?
Yeah.
And it's normal. And I think a lot of people don't realize that feeling anxious, feeling scared, feeling nervous is very normal. And I think let yourself feel that. It's okay to feel that way. My biggest advice is probably take it one step at a time. I know I always look at the big picture and I'm like, try not to look at that. Kind of look at little things, whether that's going to that first consultation with the doctor. Once you've done that, then you can look at, okay, now I'm going to have my nurse chat or my education session with the nurse. And once you get past that, then it's day one and so on. So just kind of focusing on one thing at a time rather than trying to run through everything in your head. I find that that helps a little bit.
I feel like that was my whole journey. Like you couldn't, like, as much as your head would want to race 1,000 miles, I felt better when I was just like, okay, let's get through today. Like, take it one day at a time.
Yep, that's so true. And
it took me a while to learn that, though.
I always said that to myself. I said, one day at a time. And when that was too tough, I used to say to myself, just one thing at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. Because when it feels overwhelming, it feels so overwhelming. It's so out of your control. And especially like when you're in the 2-week wait or, it's just, so true.
Yeah, or even a new protocol and you're trying to get your head, like I'd find sometimes just getting new meds and starting a new cycle, I would just lose my mind and I'd just have to sort of, my husband would be like, it's okay, just breathe, it's okay. I'll help you mix the Menopur. Yeah, I'll do it. It's okay. We've got this. And I'm like, okay. And I'd be stressing, but I've got to do it at 6 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. And, you know, and it's so easy to spiral like that. So, yeah I think
absolutely.
taking it one step at a time.
And I mean, obviously every clinic's different, but I'm such a visual person. I know at Adora, we kind of give patients a chart that they can enter like the days that they'll have certain medications or that they've got like scans and bloods. I was like, print that out, have it on your fridge so that way you can kind of cross it off as each day goes. So you've kind of, it feels like you're in control of that part. You've got something to look at, cross that off. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, patients love that.
Yeah. What's one thing you want people listening today to know about IVF nurses?
I think that we are probably just your biggest cheerleader. We're here to support you. That's what I said. We absolutely love when patients call us. That's what we're here for. So don't ever feel scared. Reach out to your clinic to speak to the nurses, whether it's, if you just want to double check about a medication or if you want clarification about, your next steps, or if you just need someone to speak to or that little bit extra support in your cycle. That's what we're here for. So that's what I said. I feel like we're definitely, your biggest cheerleader. We get so excited, when things happen for that patient. We absolutely love it. So yeah, just know that we're here to support you.
I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. And yeah, I think that you're such a big part of the whole journey, really.
Sorry, I need to cough. Sorry.
You're right.
I don't want to cough in your ears.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we speak to the doctor at the start and then potentially a follow-up call after the cycle, but we're with you guys throughout the whole cycle. So, yeah, it is nice to know that you guys are in the background cheering us on.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
You feel that too.
Yeah,
you really
absolutely.
Feel that support and everything.
Yeah.
The funniest thing I remember when I was going through IVF is during your IVF cycle, there's so much communication, and once IVF is done, it's like, hey, I want to speak to the nurses again. You get used to people speaking in and calling you and speaking, and it's just like, hey, what's going on? And I need these nurses in my life.
Yeah, that's right. And I do love that there was check-ins. I remember when I had my second miscarriage through IVF and I got phone calls, which I didn't expect really, and that was really kind, and it was nice to actually have someone check in. And at that time, you're not screaming it to the whole world either with something like that. So it's really important. And it was comforting to know that at least if I needed to, I had the nurses. But also the time that I ended up having OHSS and I had a nurse call me for 3 days to check. And it was really nice. Like I was like, oh, I didn't expect it. It took me by surprise. So, yeah, it is nice to have those checks.
No, and as you said, I think fertility and IVF can be so isolating. As you said, it's sometimes people won't tell a lot of people what they're going through. So I think having that nurse there as that extra support, if you're not open to telling family and friends at that point yet, it's nice having someone there if you do need someone to talk to.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think sometimes at the start we can be a little bit scared to open up to our doctor as well.
Yeah,
and I feel that's where the nurses come in really handy, because we feel a little bit more comfortable sometimes with the nurses at the start.
It's so true.
And I feel like you guys always kind of over communicate. Like, I just remember every call I got, there was so much detail.
Yeah.
They're like, do you have any questions? I'm like, no, I actually don't. You covered everything.
Yeah,
all the questions I had in my mind, you answered. So
get a pen now. I want you to write this down, and I want you to write this down, and I want you to remember this time. And and it was good. And it was always thoughtful and what we needed.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And that's what we're here for. We're advocates for our patients. And as you said, sometimes you'll go in for a review with your doctor and, there's so many things going on in that review that maybe you forgot to ask something, or you're like, I forgot to clarify that. And that's what I said. You've got your nurses, send us an email, call us, and then we can go back to your doctor and clarify that for you to give you that information.
Yeah. And that happened to me on a few occasions. It's so true. You go into your appointment and you think you've got all your questions, and then you get out and you're like, oh, but I forgot to ask this. And at least you can go back to the nurses, which is cool.
But I think my very favourite thing about the IVF nurses is when you wake up from egg collection and they're on the way with the crackers and the cheese and a tea and cakes and muffins or whatever it is. That is my favourite part.
That's always been your favourite part.
Yes, that is the best.
I love it.
It makes the whole day worth it. That little treat at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I remember the nurses, because I woke up really nauseous, and they said to me, I'll give you some extra. And they gave me so many, and I was so excited because I was starving.
You crack me up.
It's
I love it.
It's the little things we love.
Exactly.
Yeah. I liked the nurses on transfer day. They were always so excited. You'd go in and, some of them would just be like so pumped for you. And I'd be like on my high because it was transfer day. And transfer day was always my thing.
Yeah, no, transfer day is amazing. It's such an exciting time. And that's what I said, I always like to kind of keep track of, if I've done transfers that day, we'll go back and look at that patient. We'll be like, okay, how'd they go? So that's always nice seeing, how they've been as well, which is good.
Yeah,
I
that's
think I want
nice
to be an
for you guys
IVF
to be
nurse.
Yeah.
I would love that.
How long does it take? How much training and studying do we need?
I know. We know how
It's
to do
worth
the
it.
injections, so
Yeah,
we can
we
pass
could
that
do
part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, thank
that's
you
true.
so much, Jordan, for coming on today. It's
Yeah,
been
thank
such a
you,
good
Jordan.
chat. And thanks for just going in detail and talking about it all with us today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Right.
And thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for everything that you guys do. It's amazing.
Mm.
And I feel like anyone starting out on their journey, this is going to be an amazing episode. Yeah.
Oh, no, amazing. Thank you so much for having me. That's what I said. I think it's incredible, what this podcast is doing for other patients going through IVF. It's amazing. And that's what I said, if we can be a bit of a help along the journey, that's really nice to know.
Oh, you're the
thank
best.
you.
I think that's a wrap on this week's episode. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, everyone. And
And
we'll
see
see
you
you
next
next week. Thanks,
That's all right.
guys.
Bye.